really tired.
It's not live yet.
Super.
No, probably.
I'm so tired. I really am tired though. I wish I was going to sleep. And you know how when you walk into a resort hotel and they have the white sheets and it's just like more comfortable than any other bed ever and the sheets feel good. It feels good. I wish I was going to bed in a hotel tonight.
There is something to be said of hotel sleeping. Mm-hmm. Hotel life even.
Some people don't like it, but tonight, hi there, Tackler. Welcome to Disney Deep Dive, where each week we dive into the history, stories, and details of the Disney parks. I'm Leah.
I'm Stefan.
And we are going to be talking about a resort hotel tonight.
We were talking about the Contemporary Resort.
The Contemporary Resort. We are going to be talking in the live chat. So if you are watching live with us, please chat along. It is so much more fun that way. And we will read aloud to you the comments because it drives me crazy when I watch replays. If you're watching a replay and they're responding to comments and you don't know what's going on, it's annoying. So we will read the comments. And if you are watching the replay, let us know where you're watching from. Let us know if you have ever stayed at Disney's Contemporary Resort.
I have twice.
Yes, and we always start every week. So whether we're talking about an attraction, a parade, a ride, or this is our first time ever talking about a resort, and we talk about our own personal experience. So, Steph, personal experience.
Stayed there twice. The first and second time I went to Disney as a kid with my parents. And I don't remember the first time, or if I do, the experiences are just kind of merged together.
He was 6, so he was little.
In my brain. Like, I just don't specifically remember, like, differences between the two. But I was definitely there both times. And I remember a lot of stuff like just hanging out in the room and watching the Disney Channel that they had on TV because we didn't have cable at the time. So
at home.
At home. So we didn't have the Disney Channel. So that was like a perk to me. So, you think like, oh, sitting in the room, so boring. I don't even know why we were in the room. I think my mom and dad were doing something. But that was exciting to me because we didn't have that. So it was fun to watch. And going to Chef Mickey's, which we did when we went back. We went there and had breakfast, and it was the exact same. I'm sure they like redid the look of it or something, but they still like, twirl the napkins and stuff. And I remember that specifically. But my personal review of it is that I just kind of remember it as being like a hotel. Like, it just seemed like, okay, yeah, it's a hotel room, cool. And then, when we went later on and stayed at the Polynesian, I was like, oh, this is an experience. And I didn't really feel that experience, but I was also a child. So, like, you can't trust any of that because children know nothing.
Oh, my gosh. You say the sass comes out. It's like after a long day. You're like, I'm ready. But I do see what you mean. I think that...
Well, I say that because I've watched walkthroughs. I watched a bunch of videos of people doing walkthroughs of today, and I'm like, that's a nice room. And it looks really cool. And I'm sure at the time when we went in the early and mid-90s, it was a really nice room. But as a child, I was like, I don't know anything.
Sense, though, because it is different, nice and classy and like a nice experience to a kid. I mean, like kids like, like a Days Inn or a Best Western or, something like that. Not that there's anything wrong with those, but they like a regular hotel. Whereas you and I now, if we're like at a Hilton or like a nicer hotel, we're going to notice that difference, that step up. But then like a Marriott, one of those. And then if you are a kid, though, you're not going to notice as much, but you'll notice theming. So it's not as much of a theme, whereas like the Polynesian is clearly a theme or...
Yeah,
like
and
Hop Century.
It's so different now because, even like that, what was that hotel we stayed in when the last time we went to Disney, just me and you, and we stayed at the hotel next to the airport.
Oh gosh. Yeah, it was like a Days Inn, I think.
Still, even that, which was like essentially a garbage hotel, even then I'm like, a hotel.
That was, though, to be fair, that was because we were so tired that we were just like, we can order pizza and there's a king-size bed sold. Like,
and they had the Food Network. So
yeah.
I was like, yes, Food Network pizza on the way.
Yes.
It doesn't take a lot to please me, apparently.
Yeah. The
door's barricaded. We're fine.
Oh my gosh, it wasn't that bad, but it definitely seemed like it had not been updated since we were our kids' age, you know. I am hopping over to the live chat. Yes, I agree. To be fair, hotels are always a nice getaway from home life. Absolutely, Gigi. We agree. We talk about this all the time. Whenever we get to go to a hotel, one of our favorite parts is just that there's no laundry to do. There's no dishes to do. There's none of those things. So we can just sit and we
Don't
can
have to
watch a
make the
show
bed.
together. Yeah. And
None of that.
I love getting into a bed with white linens that is made by someone else. I love it. I love turn down service. I love all of that. And yes, this tumbler is from someone who is in the live chat, our good friend Gigi. So it has Aurora, and you can't really see. It's sparkly. You can kind of see. It's beautiful in person though. And then it says Leah. There we go. But my experience with the Contemporary is basically none. So I did go to the Contemporary, well, none until I was adult. I did go to Disney as a kid. And then I went as a teenager, but I did not go to the Contemporary either time to visit or, you know, have a dinner or anything like that. And then we went with our whole family, and I knew that one of the dining experiences I really wanted our kids to have was Chef Mickey's. It's just like a very popular classic one. And also I thought it would be cool because I knew we planned the trip with his family, and I knew that his parents, of course, would probably like to see the Contemporary since they had memories there taking you guys. And I thought, well, this is perfect. We'll all get a chance to go, even though we're not staying there.
Yeah. And fun fact, I think my love of hotels and getting away from it started very young because actually probably no one knows this, but I grew up on a campground. My parents owned a campground, and we ran the campground, and that's how we made a living. And to get away during spring break, we drove into town and got a room at a hotel. And that was our getaway because the hotel had a pool. And because the lake that the campground we had was on was still frozen, we could swim in the pool and just be away from it all. And that was our vacation. So it was fun for me at the time. So
I always...
that definitely established hotels as like, this is a fun place to be.
Absolutely. I always, as a kid, loved hotels. Like if we would go on a family road trip, and again, like easy to please, I'm like, indoor pool, and you know, I mean, Wi-Fi and stuff didn't matter then. So it's like indoor pool,
internet.
boom.
Like, there was cable, which I think at
cable
the time,
was exciting.
I don't know if we
for
had
me,
it or
because you
not.
could get like Nickelodeon and Disney Channel and stuff.
Because we didn't have it for a long time, so like I don't know if we had it then or not, but that definitely would have been a perk.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was always fun.
Yes, and Gigi asked, is Chef Mickey's a restaurant? Yes, Chef Mickey's is a restaurant. It's a character dining experience. If you go to our Disney vlogs, which I do have linked there on our Quapis Family Tackles, which we used to daily vlog many years ago now, we daily vlogged for a year and a half. And we still, every once in a while, will toss up, just for our own memories, a video. We haven't in a while, but we do sometimes film vacations and birthdays and stuff. So you can watch that. But it is with the Fab Five. So it's Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Pluto, and Goofy are there. Daisy's not there, I don't think. And it's really fun.
But getting into the topic at hand, Disney's Contemporary Resort is a AAA 4-diamond award-winning resort located at the Walt Disney World Resort in Bay Lake, Florida.
Yes.
So the Contemporary, if you've never seen it or been there, you probably know it even if you don't know the name. It's an A-frame style construction and one of the 2 original properties located at the complex alongside Disney's Polynesian Village Resort, which we've also stayed at. Both of which were present at the grand opening of Walt Disney World in 1971. So it's the one that looks like an A. That's what A-frame means, in case you don't know that.
And it is located in the Bay Lake, and it's in the Magic Kingdom area. So when you talk about Disney and going to Disney, people who frequent Disney or are big fans know that when you say that, all you mean is that it's close to that. So sometimes there are resorts, like for example, we really want to stay, and we love Disney's Animal Kingdom Lodge. And downside to it, and what made us not pick it last time, and we ended up with the Polynesian, was not a monorail resort, but it's also only buses, and it's way out by Animal Kingdom, so it's a lot harder to get around quickly, and it takes time. So Disney's a huge place.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're staying somewhere, staying at the Contemporary is still extremely popular because of its location.
Yeah, because when you think about it, if you've spent an entire day in the parks, the last thing you want to do is make a long trip back on a bus to where you need to be, and especially with children.
Like, yeah, a little baby,
like when
someone's hungry.
Yeah, we had a stroll. I mean, it would be easier now because everyone would just be walking. I'm sure Logan would ask me to carry him, but still, it would be easier.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it seems like so much work.
Yes.
So that's more of an adult themed. That's
well, and just time of your vacation. Because you're paying. So, and like, even like, for example, if you have like an 8 a.m. breakfast reservation, it doesn't seem that bad. Okay, 8 a.m. whatever. But if you're thinking, shoot, we got to plan for potentially an hour. I mean, depending on what resort you're at, if you take the bus, an hour to get somewhere. And plus you got to get up, get your kids up, whatever. So you're looking, it's like, well, geez, do I want to wake up at 5? I mean, so things like that. It can
really interrupt a lot of your travels.
Absolutely. Or fast passes, all that stuff.
So from its inception, the Contemporary was meant to represent the future, hence the name Contemporary. And Imagineers wanted to embody this concept in every conceivable way possible.
Yeah.
As they usually do.
So because of that, Disney teamed up with United States Steel Corporation and Los Angeles architect Welton Beckett, and to create the resort of the future.
Now, the teaming up with U.S. Steel was a double benefit for Disney and them, because not only was it business for them, but also years before they had been accused of price gouging. I think by JFK, actually. He went after them, is one of the things that he did. So they had kind of an image issue. So they were like, well, let's team up with Disney and we'll bring some more positivity back to our image.
Yeah.
So that's one of the main reasons they got into business with them. But it was also a way for them to kind of push this idea that the company had as far as like the architecture of the future. Now, what they viewed as the future was this method known as modular construction. And if you don't know what that is, I'm going to explain it. This is when you build the frame of a building and then you plug in all of the individual rooms and spaces which were built separately in another area. It's kind of like putting drawers into a dresser. So if you have a dresser, the dresser is the frame, and then you're just inserting the drawers, and the drawers are the rooms. It seems like it makes a lot of sense. It's used all the time today, actually, to build hotels, student housing, like on campuses and whatnot. Pretty much anytime you have a building,
or little apartments.
Apartment buildings. Yeah, anytime you have a building where every single room is going to be exactly the same, where there's like a lot of repeating patterns, it's modular, because they can just build these things separate, plug them all in, it's all the same anyway. There you go. And there's a lot of benefits to it.
Mm-hmm.
There are a ton of photos of Disney and U.S. Steel executives posing with and showing off the models for the rooms originally. You can find them online. There's a bunch of like compilation videos. And I watched a lot of them. And like halfway through watching all these, I thought it was hilarious because out of context, it just looks like a bunch of old men in suits showing off their miniature dollhouses.
Do they match the dollhouses because they're all in gray suits? And
well, it's all black and white.
Gray building?
Yeah, they're all black. No, they're all black and white photos, and it's all these men just holding up these like miniature houses and rooms, and they're like, "Look at this." And I was thinking, like, if you don't know what this is, it's hilarious because it's just a bunch of guys showing off the dollhouses they're really proud of.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really funny.
One big benefit here is if you have ever lived, we had this issue ourselves, our first apartment that we had together, or if you've ever lived apartment building, stayed at a hotel, dorms, things like that, where there's a lot of sound issues from maybe your neighbors, you ever hitting the broom, we may have done that. We had a guitar serenading guy.
When you're woken up at 3 a.m. and you hear someone jamming out above you and you're like, it's Tuesday.
And the thing is, what was so frustrating about that, we won't go on a big tangent, but what was so funny is we knew that we were very young when we were engaged, and we were both working full-time jobs, and we graduated college at this point, and so we were working. We weren't doing that college life thing anymore, so we were sure that we did not want to stay where college kids were staying because we didn't want to have those issues. We do. I mean, we did the same thing in college, whatever. So we found these apartments. We're like, all right, cool. There's young professionals here. There's even a few families here. This will be great. We had some nice neighbors, and then we had a lot of just what was happening.
No, the best part was when I ran into them in the hall one time when I was walking into our apartment. Because I was walking in, they were walking up, and they stopped me and said, "Oh, you live there?" And I said, "Yes." And they said, "Oh, well, we live above you. Sorry if we're loud sometimes." And my reply was, "Yeah, you are." And then I went into our apartment and closed the door.
We got a comment in the live chat from our friend Gigi, and she said, "How old or how young were you?" Like that.
Yes.
Were you? We were all 22. Or were you 23? No, we were 22. We were 22 when we got engaged. So anyway, the method of construction that they used for the contemporary resort does have a lot of benefits because traditional buildings have the sound issues with the shared walls. And the rooms, the contemporary, have their own walls, so that can help dampen like the transfer of noise to noise, room to room.
And it also helps with insulation as far as keeping in the cold air. They're not worried about heat; it's Florida. But as far as keeping in like the cold air, it helps each individual room keep in, and it saves them power and energy and stuff. So there were a lot of benefits to it. So in terms of like, oh, this is the building of the future, it made a lot of sense. You could just. There were a lot of positives to it potential positives that they thought would happen.
Helped with energy costs also.
Yeah, and when it comes to construction, this method provides a much safer work environment for workers. There's less mental and physical stress because everything is compartmentalized because you're building half of the building away from it in a smaller area that's easier to access. And typical dangers like falling, steel or falling tools or anything are eliminated, but not completely, but mostly. And safety, which is a huge concern on a job site like that, is increased exponentially because half the crew is off working on these rooms where there's not a lot of room for things like getting stuff dropped in your head can happen. And the guys who are working on the frame of the building have a much easier time because they're just building the frame portion. They're not building the frame and then going in and trying to build individual rooms on top of a frame, which is difficult.
Yeah.
Specific to Disney, though, Imagineers, which it was wet at the time, imagine being able to take the rooms out of the frame to update them one at a time as styles and technology changed over the years, which would add to its mystique and always maintaining it as the building of the future. So they view this as using the dresser analogy that you could go take a drawer out and then update the room as things change and then plug it right back in. That was the dream.
It's really cool. And such an interesting and very futuristic idea for the resort of the future. And one thing that I think is super cool is the buildings the frame of the building was built on site, but then the actual room construction happened 3 miles away. So the frames are being built, so you're putting up their A-frame, but the rooms were being built 3 miles away, and that's where Port Orleans is now.
So they build them there and then truck them to the site. Now, this was the beginning of this type of construction. Like this, it had existed, but it had just been starting, which is why it was the method of the future. And though it's incredibly efficient today, back then it wasn't. It was less so. It wasn't as efficient. Many times a completed room would be moved to the frame to be installed, and they would find that it didn't fit. And they'd have to take it back and rework it because something was off, something was wrong. It wouldn't just slide right in. Because the idea was you'd have this frame, and then boom, we just bring the rooms over, and there you go. But it didn't work that way because they didn't have computers giving them all of the precise measurements. They didn't have the tools that we have today. Today it works perfect. And they use it all the time.
This is happening in 70, before 71.
Yeah, it would have been like 68, I think, when they
late 60s,
started it, but it just was not perfect. Another added issue was balancing the distribution of the rooms as they were installed. Now, because it was an A-frame style building, you have rooms on this side and rooms on this side. And because you're building something on the ground, you want to make sure it's leveled out evenly as you're adding weight to it, which these rooms weighed a lot. So they would have
All
to
that
install
steel.
rooms on one side and then install rooms on the other side to even it out so that it didn't settle like because if you put all the rooms on one side at once, the building's going to go like this.
Like a teeter-totter.
Yeah, in turn, it's going to mess everything up. It's going to ruin the structural integrity, and you're going to be just out of luck. So they had to do both sides at the same time. So put rooms in here, move over here, put rooms in here. That took extra time. Also, it wasn't really something that they had accounted for.
Yeah, which ended up making everything cost more because more time on a project like this also means more money on a project like this.
Yes. And so originally the rooms for the Contemporary, each room, they estimated to cost around $17,000. They figured
late 60s.
Yeah, okay. This is our budget for the rooms. Each one will cost $17,000, and then we'll put them in. With the time delays, with the construction delays, with all of this stuff, at the end of the project, each room is estimated to have cost $100,000.
That's why we're paying like what, $500 a night
Yeah.
to stay there. I mean, something like that.
So this high price tag, you know, in addition to the fact that the entire building settled into the swampy earth of Florida, because it's Florida, the whole thing's a swamp. So it's a big, heavy building, and it did settle as they were building it. It meant that the rooms could not be removed from the building unless you wanted to like destroy the whole thing. So the idea of taking them out and like changing them, putting them back in, they're basically like once the building was there, they were like it's there for good. Like we can't do anything cool with this.
Yeah. As we mentioned at the beginning, one of the perks and things that they were so excited for was having the monorail not only stop at the Contemporary Resort, but go right through the resort itself. This is something that they were so excited for. It really fit with the theme of the future, and it's something that still makes this resort super popular today.
Let's hop over to the chat for a second because Gigi has a good question. She says, so wait, the Contemporary isn't actually owned by Disney, rather it's in partnership with Disney? Originally, yes. Originally, the way it was set up,
Great
U.S.
question.
Steel owned the building. The way the contract was written. They owned the building. Disney owned the land the building was on and leased it to U.S. Steel, but then also ran the business within the building. It was in, I think, 1972 that Disney decided, let's take this over full
Like
time.
make it ours,
Yeah, we're going to make this whole thing ours. And then they took over ownership, bought out U.S. Steel, which they were glad to give it up because they weren't really getting anything out of it. And they took it over completely. So it was originally a partnership. It was set up in kind of a weird way, but then they bought them out. And since a year or two after Disney World opened, they've owned it in completion. So.
That's a great question. I see you, live chat. I see you, Gigi. That was good. Okay. So even though they were so excited to have the monorail going right through the resort, it came with some challenges.
Yeah, there were some issues. And I was really glad I have an explanation for this because this is something that has bothered me forever. So originally, the designs for the building had the monorail running straight through the middle of the opening of the A-frame because it goes like this, and there's a big opening in it, and you would think that the monorail would go straight through the middle. It does not. It's offset to one side. It looks really weird, and it always bugged the heck out of me that it wasn't in the middle. But there's a good reason for it.
Yeah.
This design, having it go through the middle, would have caused so much vibration throughout the entire structure. The entire thing would have been uninhabitable.
If you can picture, if you've ever done, New York City, of course, subway, London tube station, any kind of public transportation where you can feel that, and that's what it's like when you go out right next to the monorail. So if they were to have it in the middle, it would have been doing that like all over, like.
Well, in the way they had it, because they had it tied right into the building also. So having it come in, it would have just shook the whole thing.
Yeah.
So it wasn't going to work. So they had to offset it to one side. And then what's the word? I had it down here. The braces for the monorail were actually set outside of the building, like one on either side, and then inside there's just like, I'm not sure how it's set up. I didn't really get that deep into it, but it's separate from the building so that it doesn't shake anything and make it a giant mess when it comes through there, because that would have been horrible.
Yeah. One of my favorite things at the Contemporary that I was super excited to see when we were there is a huge mural. You may, even if you've never been to the Contemporary, you may have seen it if you follow Disney Facebook pages, Instagram, blog, things like that, because it's very, very famous. And it is huge. It's so, so impressive. It is 10 stories, handcrafted mural, and it is designed by Marie Blair.
Mary.
Oh, Mary Blair. Oh, you're right. Good catch. Mary Blair, whose work on Cinderella and then also It's a Small World is totally iconic. Everybody, like Disney fandom, people know her.
And I still don't have that art book that she has that I really want because it looks really cool.
Yeah, we've mentioned her several times, and yeah, the art book's super,
because
cool.
she did work on Walt's Apartment, Club 33, It's a Small World, all over the place in the early days and early cartoons and stuff. So movies and whatnot. So she did a lot of work, and it's always like the most iconic stuff that she has worked on. So that's kind of cool. The mural's 10 stories tall. It's huge. It's known as the Grand Canyon Concourse mural, and that's just because the area it's located in is called the Grand Canyon Concourse. So during the planning of the hotel, it was pretty clear this huge, like large canyon-like area would be really boring and unimpressive. Like as soon as you saw it, like you would see it initially, and be like, "Wow, this is a big space," and then look at it and think, "It's just a big space. That's it. It's just a big open space." So they wanted to add something to it to kind of like, I not spice it up so much, but just add some sort of imagery to it to add to the impressiveness, the grandeur of the space. Because you got to think, like at this time, there weren't a lot of huge, large spaces like this that weren't airplane hangars, and not a lot of people were pilots. So not a lot of people saw a giant space this large. So they wanted to add to it, looking towards the future, and decided that a giant, huge mural would be, actually it wasn't even really decided by them that a giant, huge mural would be the thing to do. Originally, they just wanted several murals, like placed around, as to have like several like art pieces to just kind of have people look at and view as they were like going through the area, because it was looked at as a walk-through area, which it still is. It's just you travel through it. And
it's definitely, especially like for us, we weren't staying there, but we did take that as a monorail stop a few times, and we ate there.
Yeah.
So, we weren't eat, but we wanted to walk around. The kids had never been there. I had never been there. So that was really, really cool. I also saw in the live chat, Gigi said, semi-random, but does the train in The Incredibles 2 look like the monorail? Yes, it does. And at Disneyland, they had Pixar Fest, and they made a monorail look like have Incredibles along the side of it. For Pixar Fest.
And I imagine they probably styled the monorail in the movie after that. I actually never noticed that, but I need to watch that again.
We just watched the first one again.
I only watched the second one through in its entirety that first time in the theater.
Oh, and we did watch Frozen 2 again, so we watched that. Yeah. So if you have Disney Plus suggestions, let us know in the comments whether you're watching live or the replay.
Yes. So Mary decided after seeing the grandeur of the area, decided to create a 10-story ceramic interpretation of the entire Grand Canyon. And that's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be an interpretation of the Grand Canyon from like top to bottom. And it contains over 18,000 hand-painted and fire-glazed tiles.
They're gorgeous.
18,000 tiles.
Gorgeous.
Hand-painted.
I want a custom kitchen with those tiles. Can you give me those?
I mean, that's only like 20. That's totally doable. They did 18,000. And I really wish I had found the start date for construction. Like from when they started to when it ended. But I couldn't find the exact date. I'm assuming you could just go off of when official like groundbreaking took place. But it seems like the whole thing was built in probably like 4 years. That's just an estimation. I'm not really sure.
The whole resort? You mean the mural?
No, the whole resort. Because that was one of the benefits of the modular building construction, is that it was supposed to make it take half the time, because in theory, you're building the frame and building the rooms in another place and then plugging them in. Whereas with a typical building, you're building first the frame and then you add the infrastructure, and then you add the rooms, and then so it's all one by one by one. Whereas with that, you're doing this piece, and then you put them together. It didn't work out that way, obviously. Like we said, there were a lot of issues, and it took a lot of time to get it right. It still, I'm sure, saved a lot of time, but I think it took a lot less time than it would have if they had just done it all in the typical manner.
Well, and it's funny because I had never been there until my first time at 2015. So I had not been there, and I wasn't that excited. I kind of thought, because of the pictures and what I heard from you and stuff, I was like, okay, I get why people stay here for like a lake tower if you get to stay there, or for the location. But I think that it's kind of one of those things where it tries to be modern, sort of what happened in Tomorrowland, that they had to adjust, but then it ends up being outdated, and then it can't keep up. But I think they've actually done a really beautiful job. When you're in there, it still feels cool. Like it definitely has a neat vibe.
Yeah, no, it's the idea of it being like the resort of the future. I think is something that it has to let go of, because things just move so exponentially fast. They can't keep up with that, but it can still be a nice resort, which it is, and it looks really nice.
And having
really cool.
the monorail in it is just, I mean,
so
benefit. Incredible.
Yeah.
And in the live chat, I'm going to read a comment from Mike Bush. He says, love these deep dives. First trip to Walt Disney World was in 73 and visited every 3 years since. Still learn fun facts from you guys. Thank you so much for watching. That means a lot to us. And
73, that's
if
cool.
you have any requests, any, ride, attraction, resort, parade, whatever that you would like us to cover, let us know. Let this guy know, and he'll
figure it out.
He'll figure it out.
So now we're moving on to the fun facts.
I was ready today.
Lightning round.
If you saw me looking down at my phone, it was all for.
There's not a ton of fun facts, and I didn't want to get into all of the updates, because usually with the rides we'll do updates and refurbishments, but this is just it's boring hotel updates. It's like they added more modern this and that.
They changed
and
the
then
shampoos.
added more modern this and that. And more modern this and that. And it's just,
This was our first time doing a resort. And, let us know. If you like it, we can do more. If not, we're totally fine trying something else.
This is definitely like one of the iconic ones.
We wanted to try something different.
So first fun fact is the resort includes 10 different dining locations, which I thought was just, it seemed like just a fact that they were throwing out on one of like the company-made vacation videos. But I was like, that's a lot of dining locations in one space. Because when we are the Polynesian, there's what, 3?
Well, if you really break it down, you're talking quick service, you're talking bars, you're talking, there's little snack places and stuff. Because there's like 3 restaurants.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, if they're also talking about like the bar.
Oh, maybe they are. But still, I mean, I felt like that was quite a bit, so.
Yeah.
Pretty cool if you want to just go there to have dinner in a bunch of different places. I mean, no matter how long your vacation is, like, you could try something different every night. We
got a question too. I'm going to hold up my phone in the live chat asking about the mural, and it says on the walls or the ceiling. So it's on the walls. It's 10 stories. I'm going to hold this up. You're not going to be able to see very well, Gigi, but go ahead and Google it and look it up. It is stunning. I mean, it's beautiful.
It's like a giant pillar in the middle of, I'm pretty sure it's just like one of the support pillars, and I think there are elevators attached to it on the sides. I think that's where they are. But yeah, it's 10 stories. It's huge. It's really, really cool. And you could really take a lot of time just to look at it and break down every little detail that's in it, because it's really neat. And I love getting to experience, so not that I don't like museums, but I love art that you can see, like if there's just art downtown, art on a building, art in a, I think I love that. It's some of my favorite stuff. Built into the structure. So
I really enjoy it. So it's very cool. One thing that's really interesting is that there is almost no landscaping.
Well, there was almost no. During the opening.
Yeah. So, but, because, and we've talked about this so much about how when they were first coming up with all the parks, both Disneyland and Disney World, landscaping was such an issue. I mean, they had to plan all of these things way ahead of time, plan out, and they had to visualize, which I think is, I can't even do that with our yard, let alone a park, but like imagining where to put bushes and trees and flowers and, have a whole landscaping team. So, what's really cool is they had everybody. So hotel executives, they had the construction workers, everybody laying down sod just so that it would be presentable in time for the park to open up and for the resort to open up.
Yeah, the day before they had hauled in 4.5 acres of just plain sod just
Yeah.
to lay it out so that it
I
looked
would
like
like
it
a
was
picture
finished.
of that, of a construction worker in a suit right next to each other, drinking a
Mhm.
soda and laying outside. And Mike Bush said that, yes, that the elevators are on the back side of the mural. So
Mm.
thank you for that. That was good. See, we have a pro in the house tonight.
So this is one thing that I didn't know, and I can't believe I didn't know this, but the Contemporary was the site of what would become one of the most famous press conference statements in modern American politics. It's where Richard Nixon declared, "I am not a crook," at the Contemporary at Disney World, which I always pictured that happening.
Was he at Chef Mickey's?
I hope he
Kidding.
was. I always pictured that happening in front of the White House, and I don't know why. Like just as at a press conference, I'm sure I saw that image somewhere in pop culture, and just said like to myself, "That's how it happened." But he was at the Contemporary when he did that,
Mickey Mouse.
which Richard Nixon has spent a lot of time at Disney, like Disneyland and Disney World. There's so many instances when he was vice president, he was at Disneyland, like during
I
like
like it. I'd rather pay for my president to be at Disney than golfing.
But he's
that's
been there
not
so many
A
times.
political
And
statement.
I'm wondering if he was there to be like to try and lighten the blow, like during that, or if he
Right.
was just like, "I'm just going back to Disney."
Things are rough heading
Yeah,
to Disney.
I don't know. It was just funny to me. Like I never knew that was that, and now I want to go find the video of it and watch it so I can be like, "Oh, that's a Contemporary."
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's funny. Yeah.
But yeah, that's the Contemporary Resort.
That's the Contemporary Resort. So I would like to know, both in the live chat and as well if you are watching the replay, I'd like to know what Disney resorts you have been to. We have, between the two of us, well, we've been to several. We've only stayed at three. We've been to probably like 6 or 7 maybe.
Yeah.
So we've been to several, but we've only stayed at 3. But please let us know if you do like the resort content. Let us know. And let us know what resorts you have stayed at and what you think of the Contemporary. Let us know if you've stayed there and if you know what year or year abouts. I think that would be interesting as well.
I would like to say that because both the Contemporary and the Polynesian were opening day, so they're both the original resorts at the park. And between the two, I would prefer the Polynesian just because the theming of it is so much more fun to me.
I could stay at the Polynesian. I could go to Disney by myself, not go to the park. I mean, I would want to go to the park, but I could not go to the park, and I could hang out at the Poly and still, like, we didn't even, when we went, one of my biggest regrets when we stayed at the Polynesian was not just having a Poly day. Like, not, I mean, we had days where we were half, in the parks half the day, then we were at the pool, things like that. But we didn't even get to go, like, I want to go to Trader Sam's and get some drinks. I want to go to Captain Cook's and get some fish tacos. I want to lay by the pool.
Well, and they're both, because
Explore.
they're both, pretty equal because they're both on the monorail line. So they offer both the benefits of being on the monorail and being able to take a bus and do this and that. So you get both of that, but just theming wise, I liked it way more.
The Contemporary has a better location. I mean, it does. Polynesian is on the monorail, but I think Contemporary location, at least for our needs with young kids, it would have been better to do. But I do. I love the Poly. I love that when you walk in there, it feels like you're on vacation. It's very immersive.
You can get those bomb fish tacos, which are really good.
Yeah, those are at Captain Cook's.
Yeah.
We're fish taco fans. It's our go-to. And Gigi said she would love to we could do the Polynesian. That would be fun. So maybe we'll do the Poly next week or something. But yes, let us know. We are, usually it's just, well, what should we do? And then one of us thinks of something and that's it. So if you don't let us know, we just pick. So let us know what you would like to see. We would love to have a list. There are certain things that it's not, like if you're like, okay, we'll do Aladdin's Flying Carpet. I mean, we'll come on for 10 minutes and talk about it if you want.
Some stuff that doesn't have a lot of history.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe we'll do like a random grab bag of like history of
Sure.
this and this and this and this, because there's just not a lot to it. It's like they had the idea, they made it, there was like one flub and that was it. But yeah, that would maybe work.
Okay, in the chat, let's see. What is a Poly day? Oh, all I mean by that is that I would like to just stay at the Polynesian and not go into the park. So I would like to have a day where I'm just at the Polynesian Resort, going to the quick service dining, going to like Ohana or some of the table service dining, and then just hanging out. They have a wonderful pool. They have we had a gorgeous room, and we did stay club level too, which I feel like we didn't even get to take full advantage of that. And so I would just love to go hang out there all day. And there's a Mike. Oh, Contemporary, Poly, Grand Floridian, Port Orleans Riverside, Art of Animation, and the cabins at Fort Wilderness. Yes, that is an amazing list. Awesome. That's really cool.
I'd like to do some of those.
Yeah, we want to do one of our things that is definitely on our list. We just got to convince your parents, but we want to do camping.
Oh yeah, take the motorhome down.
Because I think it would be perfect for your dad.
Mm-hmm.
Because not that your dad didn't have fun with us. I mean, he can keep up. He did great, everything like that. But, some of the days he didn't feel like running around, and I don't blame him. So he could go fishing. He could just kind of hang out, and I think that'd be fun.
Yeah, it would be a lot of fun just to
But
drive
we need your mom. You're coming with us. Your wet wipes and you are coming with us to the parks. Yeah.
Oh, cabins at Fort Wilderness.
I'm Googling that the minute this live is over. Yes, Gigi, that would be right up your alley. Absolutely. I love that you are our little New York City girl who dreams of staying at Fort Wilderness. That cracks me up. Because to us, that was one of the things is where we live. So we are in Michigan. We are in the Midwest. And there is a lot of cabin theming stuff everywhere. We've both grown up with that log cabin-esque vibe. So to us, that wasn't very exciting because
it's like being at home.
It's like being at home, exactly. So the Polynesian seemed a lot more
exotic.
Yes, so fancy.
It was a getaway.
Yeah, exactly. But we do want to thank Dean, who has the liveplace.com. He streams this. So what we mean by that is, of course, you can just watch us on YouTube. But if you go to the liveplace.com, he streams a bunch of really awesome. Everybody on there is family friendly, and there's a lot of great Disney YouTubers. So if you like us, there's a good chance you're going to like some of the people on there. So check it out for sure. We appreciate you so much, Dean. Thank you. And we want to thank you for watching. If you watch live or you watch the replay, thank you for commenting. Thank you, Mike and Gigi, tonight. We appreciate your comments so much. And you can find me, Leah Tackles, on Instagram. You can let me know what you would like to see next.
And I'm at the Mitten Print Shop on Instagram.
Yes, and we also have some shirts listed on the Mitten Print Shop.
Yeah, we have a retail space on there now. So check that out. The business has been kind of hit a little hard because of everything that's been going on. And by a little, I mean basically all of our business has gone away. So if you would like to buy a shirt, go check that out.
Yeah, when we're filming this, we're still in the thick of everything with COVID-19. Of course, our top thing is that we hope that you guys are healthy, practicing social distancing, that your loved ones are healthy. We are healthy, but yeah, Stefan's business was all his bread and butter.
Went away.
Went away.
If you want to buy a shirt, go check that out.
Yes, and he actually printed shirts, or is printing shirts right now from the first batch of sales. That's super exciting. And then he's going to do a second batch next week. So we are very excited for that. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we hope you have a magical day.
We'll see you real soon.
Bye.